first item up tonight is the public hearing on the Town of Webster's 2024 preliminary budget. And I will say for everybody that's in the room tonight, for anybody watching live on cable or Facebook Live or YouTube, Paul Adams, does this culminate a 5 to 6 month process?
About 5 month process. 5.5?
Yeah.
Really, May?
I will say before we open the public hearing, and I think there are some people here tonight that do want to speak, I just want to say that this was the fourth budget that I've been involved in since I've been supervisor. And one of the things that really made this year so interesting, at least selfishly for me, was that it incorporated some of the things that Paul Adams, as our finance director, and Brayton Connor, as our human resources director, have implemented in the last couple of years. Most notably, Paul came back a couple of years ago from an Association of Towns conference and introduced to the town board a fund balance policy. After we discerned it and made some tweaks, I think we adopted it 2 years ago, Paul?
About 2 years ago.
Along those same lines, he came back again last year and said we should have a debt management policy, and we discerned it, tweaked it, and I think we recently...
That was recent, the past couple, 2-3 months.
Yeah. And then a combination of Paul and Brayton, we took, I guess we're gluttons for punishment, but after going through 2 union negotiations earlier, or late 2022 and first couple months of 2023, the blue collar and the white collar unions, Brayton and Paul said, you know, there's some career ladder steps, I'll call it, that we're woefully missing on our department heads, that we could maybe codify that better, and that just was done, I think, a couple months ago. So I say that because those 3 components really guided this board, and the department heads for that, you know, that were so instrumental in building this budget, this preliminary budget. And the thing that I like about those items, I guess being an accountant by trade, is that they're going to give the town board and future department heads and finance directors, after we're all gone, not from the face of the earth, but gone hopefully from just positions we're in, guide rails on building a budget. So they're not sitting there, you know, in future boards saying, well, how much money should we have in savings for the town, you know? Kind of one of these things. This is just good practice. I think the state comptroller loves this stuff, and it actually is.
They do, it's highly recommended.
Yes. So, and it really helped us this year, and I think you'll see as you look at this budget, and I did, Paul did some handouts tonight that show really the summary of the budget. I'm going to hand the baton off to Paul at this point. Yeah.
All right, Tom. I could just hit a few highlights. I prepared some notes. As you see, the year-to-year gross expenses in the budget are actually up quite a bit. They're up about $3.5 million, and there's several reasons for that in various categories. Employee compensation is up about $700,000 overall. That includes COLA increases for 2023 and 2024. At the time that we approved the 23 budget, the white-collar union agreement was not settled at that point. I believe it didn't settle until May of 23. So in the 23 budget, there was no COLA put in. There were some funds put away in contingency, but it was not in the line items. So it shows as an extra bigger jump in the compensation lines. And also there were the usual step increases, and the department heads were put on a grade step schedule for the first time. Contractual expenses, which are supplies and commodities that the town purchases. There were several items that were up quite a bit. Gas and electric utility costs were up about $88,000. gasoline and diesel fuel were up about 30,000. Insurance premiums, road improvements, wastewater treatment chemicals were also up quite a bit. So that drove those costs. But the largest driver of the cost increase is debt service costs. In August, the town actually closed on a ban issue to fund the various capital projects we have going on around town. We have the wastewater treatment plant phase 2 project, we have the Sandbar Park, and we have the highway building. So we actually borrowed $51,190,000 in August. So for the '24 budget, we're including the initial debt service payments on those amounts. We actually did pretty well with the band sale. We came in with a net interest rate of about 3.5%, which is very, very good in this environment. They offered us, it was Wells Fargo offered us a band premium of about $766,000, which will be actually recognized as revenue to offset the interest expense cost in 2024. So overall, we thought we did pretty well in that category. The next big item is sales tax. I think back in 2020, New York State passed some legislation that allowed them to collect pretty much all sales tax on internet sales, which prior to that were kind of sneaking through as untaxed items. So since 2020, we've seen our sales tax revenue rise considerably. So we saw it fit to right-size the budget on the sales tax line for 2024. So we actually increased sales tax to $6.7 million. Comparably, it was $4.8 million in 2023. So you've got about a $1.9 million jump just on that one line item. When you think of a government, you think of most of the revenue coming from taxes. We actually have substantial non-tax revenue. The non-tax revenue in the '24 budget is about $13.5 million. It was about 11.6 in the prior year. The biggest component of that jump is the sales tax. As far as the tax rates go, for a village property, they pay a tax based on the town's two townwide funds, general and highway townwide funds. And if you live outside the village, you pay based on the needs of the four main operating funds of the town. But this year, we were able to actually decrease the tax levy in the park town funds to zero using sales tax money. That actually allowed us to use sales tax in the townwide funds, which actually helps offset some of the debt service costs for the highway garage building project. I'm probably losing everybody, but call me if you have any questions. It's getting pretty easy. But anyway, so the tax rate ended up the same for both the village property and the property of the outside village, at 506 per thousand. The sewer rent, on the other hand, went up substantially. A lot of that's driven by the debt service from the capital project. The sewer rent year to year is going up about $67 per unit. And when you combine them, if you take an average house, which in our town, I think the average assessed value is $177,000. I can confirm that. If you look at that tax bill for that particular house, if they're on the sewer system, they'll pay about $1,195. For 2023, it would have been $1,170. So overall, they're up about $25, which is about 2.1%. So we were able to stay under the tax cap. We used more fund balance than we had used in '23. We actually are appropriating about $3.5 million of fund balance to stabilize the rate. In '23, we did about $2.4 million. So most of those appropriations are actually coming from operating funds. There's $400,000 from the sewer fund and about $890,000 from the various other funds and special districts. So overall, I think we're definitely fiscally sound. We're trying to plan long term rather than looking, as Tom says, in a silo and a one-year budget. we're trying to look further out, like a 5-year plan, to try to plan ahead and to keep the tax rate stable. And I think it's paying off. It's good to have that look out into the future. So overall, I'd like to thank everybody for their help in putting the budget together. Once again, the department heads were key. We had many meetings, and I think we put together a good package.
We've been in this boardroom and talked about this budget development for 6 months. Citizens if we're interested, could be watching all along. 2 weeks ago, if you got the Webster Today at your house, which you should have if you live in Webster, 16 pages of line item by line item on it. And we haven't gotten many questions about the budget. And I'd like to think the optimist in me thinks it's because it was put together very well. Because I know people pay attention to this, Paul.
They do? Okay.
Well, I think I know the answer to this. The next item on our agenda is the open to the floor, each speaker allowed for 5 minutes. I don't want to assume anything. I don't think anybody here tonight is taking the podium for the open to the floor. I knew that, okay. Then next up is the board meeting 2 weeks ago, October 5th, the minutes. I reviewed them, and I would make a motion that we approve those minutes.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye?
Councilman Cato.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn. Aye. Councilwoman Cataldi. Aye. Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Bill? You? No?
Yep. Reviewed the bills and submitted by Director of Finance, find them in order, and recommend that we pay.
Second. Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn. Aye. Councilman Cato.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi. Aye. Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye. And I reviewed the prepaid warrants as submitted by Paul Adams, our Director of Finance, and make a motion to approve those.
Second. Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye?
Councilwoman Cataldi. Aye. Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Councilman Cato.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn. Aye.
And I also reviewed the purchase orders as submitted by Paul Adams, the Director of Finance, and make a motion that we approve those.
Second. Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye?
Councilwoman Wynn. Aye. Councilman Cato.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi. Aye. Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Paul, you want to just give a brief explanation of the next two?
Yeah, I've made a few comments. We have some budget transfers and amendments to the 2023 budget, the year that we are in. It includes a fairly large transfer within the police department. They've been short on staff, so they've actually had some increased overtime costs. So we're transferring some money from the officer salary line. The amendments have to do with our recreation. The recreation programs have been really going gangbusters. They've brought in an incredible amount of revenue, and with the revenue, expense also goes up, so we're actually just expanding the budget to reflect the increased expenses in budget and revenue. CHIPS road materials. Pat, I think spent about $308,000 on CHIPS road materials this year. The budget was $100,000. CHIPS is fully reimbursable, so we're just expanding the budget to account for the additional expense and additional revenue. And the last amendment has to do with the Parkland Trust Fund and the renovation of the pickleball courts over at the Recreation Center. We're just expanding the Parkland Trust budget by about $50,000 to cover the remaining costs of the pickleball project. So,
Thanks, Paul. Any comments, questions by the board? I know that, I think we got those out to the board members yesterday or Tuesday for their reading pleasure. One way instead of counting sheep at night, right? Will I make a motion to approve the 2023 budget transfers as submitted by Paul Adams, Director of Finance?
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye?
Councilman Cato.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn. Aye. Councilwoman Cataldi. Aye. Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
And I made a motion to approve the 2023 budget amendments as presented by Paul Adams, the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye?
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi. Aye. Councilman Cato.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn. Aye.
This next resolution, we had it on here, but it was always kind of a, will we approve the 2024 budget tonight? We kind of wanted to have it there, possibly table it if we had 50 people come in and comment and question about a lot of the budget items. We didn't have that. We even, leading up the last 2 weeks, we had minimal, like I said before, emails and calls into our website, into the supervisor's office, the finance department. So, I'm comfortable making this motion, so I am going to make a motion to adopt the Town of Webster 2024 final budget.
Second. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kirkcaldy? Aye. Councilman Abbott?
I would prefer we table it, since it's already a resolution.
You can say no, Bill.
Yeah, I just prefer we table it.
Okay.
So I would vote no.
Okay.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Webb? Aye.
All right, and because it did not, well, a 4-to-1 is fine. We would need a supermajority, which that is a supermajority if we went over the 2% cap. This wasn't under, so the budget is adopted. The next resolution is really an offshoot of the budget, something that we've been working on the last 3 years, 4 years really. I found it odd when I became supervisor that about 2 months into being supervisor, somebody came in 5 minutes before the meeting and said, we need to adopt the 2020 fee schedule. I'm like, well, we're 2 months into 2020. How did that not get done during budget time? That's a financial thing. It's kind of one of those things that slipped through the cracks, right, Paul, that never really, so we've been working on with the department heads the last few years. We need to get a policy, procedure, custom, whatever, where the same time we approve the budget, we're approving the fee schedule, the revenue for like the rec center, for the parks, all that stuff, for DPW department. I don't know how else you could build a budget without having those fees that are what kind of builds your budget. So, any questions on that before I make a motion on this? Because I think it's the first time we've done it the same day. Is it not, Paul? Yeah. Okay. I make a motion to adopt the 2024 Town of Webster fee schedule and the 2024 Webster Parks and Recreation Center lodge facility and field rates as presented.
Second. Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kirkcaldy? Aye. Councilman Abbott?
Aye.